Happy New Year, and welcome to our very first episode of Where That Baby's Code At, entitled Leveraging Higher Education, where we'll go on a journey exploring topics that the Black community will benefit from. Today's topic will talk about how to leverage all the resources provided to you to make accessibility to higher education more feasible. I'll be joined by special guests on each episode, and these special guests have experience in the topics they're discussing. So I will simply be your guide while they lead us in conversation. These guided conversations will be your metaphorical coat as we navigate this cold life. So think of these guided conversations as my attempt of keeping you all warm. With us today, our special guest will tell us how to best utilize these resources. I know him as Uncle Jason, but to many he is known as Jason Barnes or Pops. Uncle Jason is a man who has dedicated his life to assisting younger men of color in their pursuit of excellence through individualized counseling. Uncle Jason's background is in psychology, so his days of college counseling focus more on the behavior aspects. And we will certainly touch on those topics since this is his expertise. But given his vast knowledge, we will take advantage of it with respect to accessing higher education. Uncle Jason also has his own business called Popsography LLC, which the information will be provided in the show notes.
Good. Doing better.
Oh, that's good. All right, well then, let's go ahead and jump right in. So I want to set the scene for all the listeners about what it should look like before they even step on college, or before they even actually before they apply to college. So what should our listeners do to ensure the collegiate path is the path that they are wanting to take?
Well, first of all, I thank you for trusting me, nephew, with this. I'm big on self-assessment. I think that children, students, young people need to assess. Do I even like school? That's the first major question that, believe it or not, a lot of people are never asked. They're just kind of funneled through a system to say, okay, this is the next step. You went from, elementary school, middle school, now high school. Now the next step is college. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily it for everybody. So that's the first thing I do. First thing I do, we spend a lot of time on, do you even like school? And then I give them a plethora of reasons as to why I'm asking you, do you like school? Because if you don't even like school, what sense does it make to even have a conversation after you tell me, nah, I don't really like school?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Real grassroots approach.
Yeah, exactly. Get you a self-assessment, okay? Make sure that's the right path. Because college is expensive, okay? So yeah. Exactly.
And a lot of people, my parents, my uncles, my aunts, they invested in me when I was going to school. They were like, okay, my expectation is this. Not saying that if I didn't go, they would not have been displeased with me, mm-hmm. But they said, if this is what you want to do, and we put our, sweat equity in this thing, you better do what you got to do.
Oh yeah.
So, you see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right. So when it comes to academics, I know a lot of colleges are moving away from standardized testing. And so do you think that there is another option that people should be considering when it comes to standing out academically?
Definitely. I'm big on that. I actually loathe standardized testing. Mm-hmm. Standardized testing did not, when years ago, when I was, going to college, it did not tell my story. Mm-hmm. I graduated high school with a 92 average. And for me, having a lower SAT score, I was like, no, I know I can do better. This test was too long. It was arduous. It was like my brain was not there, and I took it twice. And it was just all of the anxiety behind this test was like, if you don't do well in this test, you won't get into school, kind of thing. It was hard. It was like taking 10 finals in one test. So here it is now that I'm working in higher education, spent all these years in higher education. I realized that schools realize that same thing, that this test does not tell you what type of student you're going to potentially get. Mm-hmm. I'd rather for me, I tell my students, do very well still in those basic courses. STEM is huge. Now, I know it's STEAM, but I still stick with STEM. Science, technology, engineering, you got to stay with that. Math is huge. That core of a student is still important. And as counselors, as people in higher education, they still look at those grades and judge them heavily, and so to stand out on paper. That's why I tell my students, stand out on paper, and then the paper will open the door for you, and then you shine in the face if afforded an interview or what have you. Does that make sense? Get you, and we'll talk about it later, I'm pretty sure, get you a core of educators that believe in you, that will say, okay, don't look at that 87 that he received. Look at him as this student is coming from a single parent household that has to work a part-time job, at least 30 hours a week. And he also, or she also, plays football, basketball, cheerleading, track, whatever it is. And they still maintain this 87. Look at this kid from a different lens. Don't judge him based upon the student that does nothing but study. They should have, 4.0s and 3.9s. They should, but look at this student from a different lens. And that's what I want students to focus on. Focus on your core, focus on looking good on paper, and then we'll get you in the face of these respective counselors and stuff.
Yes, sir. So looking at the totality,
gotta take the whole student.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't judge anymore. Those days are over. Those days of just taking a student at face value are over, because every kid has a story. Every single one of them.
Exactly.
And we as educators, we need to know, okay, what's this kid's story? Because they got good grades, but so does 10,000 more students. So why is this one better than that one? And that comes down to the recommendations and stuff and all that good stuff.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So now let's shift to students, their own college campus. They've got in and everything. And now it's time to pick their classes. So what tips would you give people to look at when deciding on classes to take, looking at class size, course offerings, professors, stuff like that?
Well, let's break that down a little bit better. Class size, let's take it out.
Okay.
Class size, I like to tell students, that before you even get accepted. Do your homework. You're a graduate of Syracuse University. That some of your classes may have 12 people in it, and then it could have 300 easily, right? So that's a large university. We do all of that homework well before, you even get accepted, all that good stuff. So let's take class size out. But what I will tell my students is, do not think you know what you're doing. You are paying for this education. There are professionals that are paid to make sure that you receive the education that you are paying for. Go to your advisors. Do not do this thing by yourself. A lot of students get caught out there, where they say, okay, I'm going to take Psych 103. Well, time out. Why are you taking Psych 103 when it's not on your particular course line for your degree program? That makes no sense for you to waste your time with that. Now, we have electives and all that good stuff, but let's get the core out of the way.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so let the professionals guide you as to where you need to be. Now, you as, a willing and active participant in your education, now you got to say, you know what? I don't want to take classes on every day of the week. I want to only take classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, cool. If that's what you want to do, great. Then here's the classes that are available when you want them. But at least you have a guideline from a paid professional that's going to assist you on what to do with your coursework, right? Because then it's their responsibility, to make sure that you are on track. Does it make sense? It takes the onus. It kind of makes this a familial thing opposed to an individual thing for you as a student. It helps you out. It really does. It releases and reduces a lot of anxiety that a lot of kids have after not necessarily your first year, but when you hit that junior, senior, you start freaking out. Like, okay, where's my credits? Do I have enough credits to graduate? Because listen, I'm about to be exhausted with my student loans and stuff. My financial aid is only going to cover me for a little bit. Like, what's up? You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yes, sir. All right, well, I'm going to get off script for a minute.
Okay.
You got me. So going off script a little bit, what about, because I know some people don't have, I guess, as active as advisors, you know.
Okay.
I know for me, I had a good advisor in college that helped me, but also I was more active with my, my course load. So I was doing most of the work myself and just kind of showing her, like, this is my plan, this is what I plan on doing. But some people that don't have that familiarity with navigating higher education, and picking courses, and they don't have an active advisor, somebody that's very good at their job, I guess, for lack of better words. What kind of tips would you give them to kind of help them navigate, making sure they can get done in time, but also not having somebody that's as competent?
So the word that pops into my head, you know how my mind works. Right? So the word that pops into my head is advocacy. Right. And remember when the podcast first started, I started talking about, like, we have to kind of do a self-assessment. Right. So there are some students that are very reclusive. They're introverted. They don't really do a lot of talking. They're socially awkward. And so, but they still have this innate desire, or this burning desire to go to college. Well, advocacy needs to be taught. How is it that you are sitting here not getting what you're supposed to from advisor A, right? Yeah. So advisor A is not assisting you. So you're struggling with a little bit of stuff. So you're like, how do I do this? Well, that's where people like myself exist as an independent counselor. That's where people, believe it or not, that's why in high school, this is why I tell my high school kids, don't make your high school guidance counselors angry with you. They are your advocate. I'm telling you, they will advocate for you from now until. Also CBOs, which is huge. I handled all of New York City for the SUNY system for years. And I'm telling you, CBOs like Harlem Children's Zone and these types of, organizations, they are these students' lifeline, and they will advocate like nobody's business. Let's go locally here in Syracuse. Hillside is huge, on point, huge for our students. What does it do? It really helps our students when you can't get with your advisor. Now we have people who went through the system, who are still working indirectly with the system. They assist you. They sign into your what is, for you guys, it was My Slice. Sign into your My Slice account, and they'll walk you through. It's like, okay, you need to have this. This is what your degree program dictates. And then from there, this is what you need to do. You need an advocate, no matter how you slice it. People have to advocate for themselves. Students have to advocate for themselves. And we as professionals need to advocate for our students. This is why you have so many different avenues and arms to this thing, right? Because it's overwhelming. And if you have an advisor that's just, let's be real, just collecting a check, who's on campus, and they really don't care about you coming in. You may look wrong. You may come in with a hoodie, and you know how that goes. That's a whole nother ballgame, one of the conversation. They may just not care, right? But you need to be like, okay, since you're not going to do it, then I'm going to go over here to do it. And a lot of students don't have that fire in them to say, what I can't do with you, I'm gonna go over here and do it with them. Does that make sense? Yes. So advocacy, is huge in the higher education realm.
Yes, sir.
Huge.
Oh yeah, because it definitely is a hard thing to navigate. I tell you that. So we know that college can be academically challenging for many people. So what are some tips that people should consider when trying to strike a school life balance? Keeping up with both, like social, because this is a formative time where you can, really network and get to know people, but also focusing on your academics, making sure that you thrive, so you can secure the job that you have in mind.
Very good question. This is a very good question. This is behavioral. This is right up my alley. Right? I am one of a growing member of a number of people who believe that you learn through societal engagement. I believe that social life on a college campus is vital to a student's success, right? What am I saying? I'm not saying that you need to go to a school and engage with a whole bunch of party animals that want to do nothing but party and not have what I call balance, right? We know we need balance.
Oh yeah.
So as you know, here it is. I've been through college. Here it is. I've been married 33 years. Here it is. I've been, all these children that I've raised and stuff like that. All my kids are now grown, right? And so I needed balance. I couldn't be all work and no play. I couldn't be a good dad if I was always at work. I couldn't be, a good dad if I didn't go to work. So I need, you have to have balance. And I believe that that success rates are higher when a student has a healthy social life. Hear my words clearly. A healthy social life, right?
Yeah.
And also that, again, engages with their respective counselors, with their resident hall directors, with even upperclassmen for that reason, for my freshmen or whatever, engaging with people who can say, no, brother, don't do that. No, sis, don't do that, right? Because if you do that, you're gonna go down this road. You don't want to do that, right? So come over here, hang out with us real quick, because you're going down a slippery slope when it comes down to too much partying. That being stated, shifting to the academics, there are going to be some classes, and you have talked about this ad nauseum. Some classes just bore you to tears. They just flat out, I just can't stand this class. Can't wait till I get through it. It's so boring. I can barely understand the professor. I'm in this large, here we go again, class size. I'm in this large classroom. This teacher is just irking my nerves, right? But I need this class because I'm not going to be able to finish my core requirements. And you have to be able to navigate and discipline yourself to get through it. That's where the social aspect comes into play, right? Because if you gotten it out, okay, fun. All right, now I need to focus on this class because this is my challenge, right? So with my students, with their schedule, I don't recommend a student do more than 5 classes a semester. I just don't. I've never been. I have seen students want to kill themselves, and I hate to say that word, but literally just lose it trying to handle more than 5 classes a semester, right? So I always say 2 classes that challenge you, that really push you to the limit. You need 1 class that's like, yes, I can get through this one. This is the fun class. And then the other 2, are classes that, okay, I got to do the work in order to be successful, but it's not stress. Does that make sense?
Yes,
that's
sir.
how I look at, when I help students with their schedules and stuff and try to navigate the schedule. That's how I help them with that. So that's those pressures, are alleviated or released appropriately through a great academic social balance. I hope I'm answering.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know for me, mine was one appreciation. That was my fun class. Oh yeah, I love. But I learned too. So
My favorite was African studies.
oh yeah,
learning about us.
Yeah.
It was just fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, this next question talks about emerging technology because it's emerging quickly. And so, yeah. And so, in the world of rapid AI, how can it ethically be used for our students to help them assist in their pursuit of higher education?
Well, here we go again, nephew. I'm big on words. You said, how can it what? Assist.
Yeah.
Assist. AI is not there to do. AI is there to assist. The ethical ramifications behind AI and those types of technologies are, professors are like, well, it's not your work.
Yeah.
It's not your work. So, and we do know that students use ChatGPT, all of these different kinds of things. We know students are doing it, but how do you help a student say, okay, this is how you're appropriately supposed to use ChatGPT or AI? My best friend, who is a college professor, he literally is doing symposiums on how to appropriately use artificial intelligence to get through your undergraduate courses.
Yeah.
Right. And how to appropriately cite, your paper. If you know it wasn't your idea, you actually can't take credit for it because it goes against, the restrictions or the rules and regulations of the school. So you don't want to get caught up in that thing. I still believe I love technology. You know I do. You know I'm a techie head. But I still do believe that young people need to learn how to critically think. There is something about critically thinking, sitting down and planning it out for yourself. Because no matter how intelligent these technologies are, they can't tell you, Aldrick, you like that course, don't you? They can't tell you how you really feel. They can't experience it for you because it's not a living, breathing thing. It's just what it is. It's as good as the information that's put in it.
Yeah.
So who put the information in it? We did. So somebody had to critically think enough to put in the AI to spit out what we needed to spit out when I need to. I hope I'm helping you with this one. AI is an ever evolving topic. I stay on the outskirts of it because I want my students to think for themselves. I want my kids to know, you need to know, if you're in an English course, you need to know how to construct a paper, your thesis. You need to know how to develop that stuff, because there's some things about old school ways of doing things that really help you no matter what technology is out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being able to navigate. And because, my undergrad is psychology, for me, that's a huge issue for so many kids. We stand behind a computer so much that we are just as weird when it comes down to, being able to interact. I know a lot of kids, and I know my personality is like, I'm very, type A, if you will. But I'm like that. I'm very direct because that's how I was raised, and it got me to this point, and it's going to continue to get me, to those levels of success. But people have to understand that without your ability to think critically and to really do self-assessment, true advocacy, you're not gonna be successful. You might get through the course, but it's not just the course you're trying to get through.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Makes sense.
Did I answer everything?
Yes, yes. All right. So I want to now talk about people that go to college and then they realize that the college environment is not one that they can necessarily thrive in, but they are very interested in still getting the academic accolade. So
The degree, you mean?
yeah, getting the degree,
Okay.
exactly. Or or and some people maybe a certificate, a graduate certificate. So what would you say to them to kind of help them in that situation?
Do it. Simple as 1, 2, 3. Do it.
Yeah.
Be true to yourself. If you know you don't like the dormitories, get out. If you know you don't really like being far away from home, come back closer. In every area in America, there is a school close to you. And even if it's not, you can go online. If you are just so socially anxious, right, that you can't quite do all the interactions and stuff, but you want to continue on with your undergrad education, then guess what? You're an online student. Go online, stay behind the technology, but understand that even with the technology, you still are held accountable. There's still a standard for, all of that, since we're going just to retract a little bit, with the AI stuff. So people have to understand, do that for yourself. If it's not for you, great. My baby, my oldest girl, SU grad, you know her well. She stayed on campus for the first 2 years, and then she was like, okay, I'm over it. She was like, I'm over it. She said, Dad, Mom, I'm just gonna come home. Cool. Guess what we did? The money we saved, because SU tuition is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So the money we saved, we leased her a car. We leased her. Matter of fact, y'all had the same car,
Oh, okay.
So we leased her a car, and she was able to commute back and forth. She was like, going to class, leave it. I don't want to engage. I just want to get this work done, do what I have to do. Because she knew she wasn't an online person, but she needed to, get what she had to do, balance. She found her balance real quick. She was like, I don't like people. I don't like all of that. I just need to get what I'm getting from people and then go home and mull it over and do what I have to do. So she's successful still to this day. She works from home. That's who she is. She just so happened to be married to a man who's just like her. They don't do all of that interaction. So do it. If a student comes to me and everybody call me Pop, I hate it. They're, okay, baby, what we gonna do? Let's go. But you need to finish. Like, if that's what you want to do. Now, if you don't want to finish, God bless you, good night. But we need to plan. What we doing? We going in the Army? We going in the Air Force? What we doing? We going to work? You got a great job coming up? Like, what? There needs to be something, because life is an ever evolving thing, and you got to live it. So what's up? Right?
Yes, sir.
So do it. Simply that. That's the answer to your question.
Just do it. Like Nike said, just do it. Yeah. All right. So, for some people, college is their first experience in a diverse environment. Some they just go to a town and everybody looks like them. So, they're not used to other people that, think differently. So what are some strategies to help people successfully acclimate to living with people who might differ from them sexually, racially, and in other areas of life?
Ask yourself the question, am I the only person in this world? And the answer is unequivocally no. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself the question, am I willing to be open-minded enough to learn what I don't know? Mm-hmm. The answer should be yes, right? This world is not cookie cutter. Going back to a few questions ago about, SAT scores, right? Mm-hmm. like it's not cookie cutter. You can't go at this thing cookie cutter because everybody's different, right? So if you have some of my most challenging moments were when my spiritual beliefs were questioned, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it affirmed, right? It made me stronger. Your uncle is a little hard to, you can't convince me too much of, but at the same time, it made me say, I better know what I'm talking about. I better have an experience. My mom used to always say, when me and my siblings were growing up, is that what good is a relationship with God if you don't have an experience with him? If it's not working for you, what's the point? You can know all the scripture in the world, but if you don't know how to apply it, what's the point? And I did jump deep real spiritually because that's who I am. I have no choice to do that. That's who I am, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is this, but everybody's not like that. So I have to be cool. I have to learn things from people who are of the LGBTQ community, who are atheists and agnostics. They're still people. Mm-hmm. That, we all have to grow together in this world. We're all affected by certain things in this life. It's called death and taxes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Death and taxes.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I may not agree with how you live your life. That don't mean I need to be disagreeable. Mm-hmm. I don't have to be nasty. I don't have to be, incorrigible. I don't have to be cognitively dissonant to life's happenings, because, and then call myself a scholar or an academic or for that matter, a man, and for others, a woman. You can't call yourself I'm mature if you can't even respect somebody's difference. They're just different. Mm-hmm. And so undergrad is designed to bring students to that place where it's like, okay, yep, here it is. It's all out there for you. Mom, dad ain't here to tell you get up. What's up? We're not going to wake you up. Yeah. You can go to that party. Yep. You can have your girlfriend and your boyfriend spend the night all you want. Yep, sure can. But what I'm going to do? All I'm saying is you signed the dotted line that you were going to enter, you matriculated, in this degree program. Mm-hmm. You said, we told you this is how much it's going to cost. At the end of the day, pay your bill.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? But that's what I love that part about my undergrad. And that's the one thing that I miss about college is the experience, not necessarily the classes. You think about it, we're indoctrinated to go to school. That's nothing for us, right? It's like a robot. get up and go to class, right? But it's the experiences. Like my favorite English teacher was Miss Peterson back at my high school. And I used to love Jason. And she was a Jamaican woman that had the sweetest accent. And I used to be like, oh, Miss Peterson. And I would just melt like every time. It wasn't the fact that we were reading Romeo and Juliet. We had to write a freaking paper on it. I had nothing to do with it. It was my engagement, my experience with her as a person that made me like, yeah, I wanted to go to school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I always wanted to run. Always been athletic. My whole family is, football, basketball, I always wanted to, do that because my coach was like, you slow. I bet I could beat you, Barnes. You suck. And I'd be like, oh, and I would get up. You know what I'm saying? It was that. That is why I think that if you don't challenge your borders, if you will, you don't expand them, you'll never grow. It's like your skin has stretched out 16 trillion times over since since you've been born. I know you still, vertically challenged, but your skin has changed. Baby, your skin can't stay the same, right? In order to grow, you got to expand. So
yeah. Okay, man.
I hope I helped you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was good?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Not the short part, but
Stay short.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now that somebody is accepted into college, and now they're starting to think about, the money, because, like I said, at the end of the day, college is, are you able to afford this education for SU, $80,000 a year? So, yeah, yeah, exactly. So where's a good place to start looking for financial assistance?
Well, first of all, a great place, FAFSA. People don't understand. FAFSA is not just where you fill out your information. FAFSA gives you a plethora of places to go, right? Google is your friend. If you don't want to talk to people like myself, you're always on your phone. Don't just be on it to be doing TikTok and Instagram. Get on it, go to Google, check it out. How am I going to pay for this college? Right? And it's a plethora of information out there. There are so many students that go without even trying to get some free money that's out there. There are people who literally have scholarships out there to say, write me a creative essay on blah, 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 blah. I'll give you 10 G's a year. And you don't want to do it. You don't want to, you're going to college, but you don't want to write an essay to get money. Like, so those are the things. It's like, do the investigation, just get it out there. You guys, your generation has it so much easier than we did. We didn't have the internet. I'm older than the internet. It's sad to say, but it's like I'm older than the internet. So where did we go? It was a big old book that we just went through, which could have been outdated as soon as it was printed. But we were still doing things based upon, when we did the FAFSA, our FAFSA was via paper. Whoa, we had to wait for mail to get money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and think about it. And most of our parents didn't get the opportunity, to go. So you figure my parents would be late 70s, early 80s. They didn't go to school. So for them, it's like, how do you tell them how to get financial aid for their kid? You can't, right? So it's just investigation, right? That's where you sign up for college fairs. A lot of students don't do that. Sign up for those college fairs before you even start looking into stuff and looking into, I want to go to SU, but you know nothing about how expensive SU is. Well, go talk to them. I call her my big sister. I love her to pieces. And I go to her and I'm like, Joe, I got a kid for you. She's like, Jason, what they do? Because it's like she always knows when I'm calling her, I'm like, this kid really is talking crazy. I think you need to just give them a reality check about if you come to Syracuse, this is what you got to do. I got a big brother up there, best friend. He directs one of those programs. There are people out there who their life's blood is to give you this information. Let's reverse a little bit. CBOs, that's where you get your information from. They are, experts on this money. They may know something about Delta Sigma Theta, Alpha Kappa Alpha, Omega Psi Phi, Kappa Alpha Psi. They may know something about these fraternities and sororities that may have scholarships that you didn't know none about. That now you can apply to. So you have to engage. You have to put it out there, and then and then get all the information that's coming at you, and whatever applies to you, great. Run with it. Do what you got to do.
Yes, sir.
Make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. Definitely does. And so, now that you done talked about FAFSA and, the resources that the, FAFSA offers, like the federal government, I know from personal experience that the federal government doesn't necessarily like to give out, things like Pell Grants for people with my type of metrics, come from a two-parent household where both parents make, enough money, yeah, exactly, to pay for my college without considering the totality of the situation, I have three other brothers as well that if they wanted to go to college, they will also have to consider them as well in the financial and stuff like that. And so, without considering all that, I kind of don't get Pell Grants. And so they tried to divert me to loans instead. And so could you just talk us through, these different loans and what they mean, like subsidized versus unsubsidized and private versus, the public loans and stuff like that.
Let's just not necessarily a correction, just a shift in term. The federal government, those programs are designed to help you. So they do want to give you grant money. It's just parameters in order to be fair that they have to go by. Everybody lives their situation differently. It's like, okay, you're like, my parents can't afford that. The money that they make, there's no way they're going to be able to pay for me to go to Syracuse University. There's no way. So I need this Pell Grant money. You know what I mean? And the government's like, well, considering that, according to these parameters that we have set up in order to be fair, and I use air quotes, I'll use that term loosely. That's a whole nother topic. In order to be fair to all, we have to say, okay, unfortunately, this is all you can get, even if it's nothing. So I got to be real with you. Even though both my parents didn't go to school, they made way too much money for me to go to school for free. They had to pay for it. My parents had to pay outright for my education, right? And then I had to take loans out. Now here's the segue. Loans. In order to have subsidized loans, which means subsidized is, think of it as a covering, it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid for the interest rate. So the interest does not start to accrue until after you're basically done with school. Unsub is no Band-Aid, right? That interest is accruing as you're in school. They'll give you a whole bunch of money. As you well know, they'll give you a whole bunch of money. Everybody think they hit the lotto. But at the same time, they got to realize you got to pay that back, bro. Like, what's up? And so that's my grassroots way of explaining subsidized loans versus unsubsidized. There is a cap on subsidized loans, right? Because let's be clear, the government gonna want the money, So it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you this amount because you filled out the FAFSA, right? Because you filled out the FAFSA and you tried to get, some federal aid, you didn't qualify. That opens you up to be able to get this subsidized loan, right? And if you can't get that one, guess what? Here's a huge unsubsidized loan that you can get as well. So what do you want to do? It's all about your package. It's your student aid, package. What is it that you and your family think is best for you? Now, here's my caveat. If you're doing all of that and you still struggling with making it do what it do, that's not the school for you. Make sense?
Yes.
That's how I look at it. The Pell Grants are out there for everybody who qualifies for Pell Grants. But in order to qualify for subsidies, you must at least attempt to get some grant money, right? And then the unsub part as well. You need to have a FAFSA, an updated FAFSA every academic year on file to do what you got to do. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
So once you realize that and you still are at a shortfall, change your direction. Make sense?
Yes, sir. All right. So we do know that, there are workarounds, even like, with everything. There's workarounds for, exactly with financial aid. And so, we have things like work study that's out there to kind of help people pay their way through college. So can you just talk us through, work study? So like, when should it be considered? What should they look for when they're considering work study? Just like, talk us through work study.
Let's go back. In order to even qualify for work study, what do you have to qualify for? Right. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't get the Pell Grant money, and if you didn't apply early enough, because there's SEOG grants, there's a whole bunch of, I don't want to bore anybody with that because it's boring, but it's crucial. It's just, a lot of people don't understand it. When you apply, if you qualify for a Pell Grant, most of the time, notice what I'm saying, most of the time, those students then also qualify for work-study programs. I am kind of in the middle about work-study programs, and I'll explain to you why. Work-study for the person who's teetering on, okay, I'm barely getting the amount of money I need to get from the federal government, but I need to do a little bit more in order to, keep money in my pocket so mom and dad don't have to, or I should say mom, because a lot of people don't have both parents, so that, mom doesn't have to send me $100 every month or whatever else just to be able to do my, laundry or whatever situation is. Those are the people that I recommend that should be getting work study. But for people who, got enough aid, I think they need to be focused. I'm real big on that. I have colleagues that will probably, differ with me, but I really, really, truly, honestly believe that there are certain students that because you may be a first gen kid and you don't really have a huge support system and you're on a campus that can kind of yoke you in there.
Yeah.
I'd rather you be focused. I need my students like that to be focused on their academics. I need you to focus. I don't need you somewhere, I got to go to work. We understand it's work study, but a lot of these places we have work study, you can't really do your work. You can't do, because a lot of them, say, well, no, you can't be doing your assignments on there. I need you to be working. Notice what I'm saying? It's called work study for a reason. The study part is misleading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because and I know a lot of kids that do, some like you in the library. Oh yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of kids like they're doing their own readings and stuff because all they need to do is kind of sign you in. So they're just sitting there reading a book or whatever else, and that's acceptable. But for some students who might get a work study job and they're working in security on campus, you can't be. If somebody need help, you writing your paper. Nah, you can't do that. You got to be focused. So that's why I say there's some things that I'm like I'm in the middle with it. I'm in the middle with work study. But work study benefits a lot of people. It has benefited a lot of people. But again, it's all attached to that Pell Grant and that FAFSA, I should say.
Yes, sir.
Did that help you?
Yes, sir.
Because I knew you're a little bitter that you didn't get it either.
Could get nothing. Yeah. All right. So for those of you who are interested in serving your country and allowing the federal government to pay for your college completely, you consider the Reserve Officer Training Corps or ROTC program. And there's other military programs out there, such as the Early Commissioning Program, which is a program that I completed. So if you stay tuned for the next episode, will be for those that are interested in serving their country by way of the U.S. military. We will talk further about the RTC program and the Early Commissioning Program mentioned in this episode. Let's get warm. Where the Baby's Code At is hosted by Aldrick Cade. It is recorded, edited, and produced by Aldrick Cade LLC.